We read the Almanack of Naval Ravikant and gave it a shelf test score. Impactfulness, a score of 9 out of 10.
I'm just going to give it a 7.
Why a 7?
If you're broke, right? It's like, cool, man, build assets. And I'm just sitting here trying to pay my rent.
Should you have sections in your book talking about your diet when you're not in great physical shape?
If I give this a 10, then all of a sudden we read Meditations. It's like, oh, so this is on the same level as Marcus Aurelius?
Final shelf test score.
We read nonfiction books and score them out of 50 points across 5 categories.
Readability, impactfulness, credibility, and our individual it factors that we call the Ray factor and the Steve factor. At the end of this video, we'll reveal the final shelf test score.
You can read along with us and see all the books we have rated and ranked at theshelftest.com.
This is the shelf test. Let's get into it.
Here's how the shelf test score works. Every book on this channel gets scored the same way. 5 categories, 10 points each, 50 total.
3 of those categories, readability, impactfulness, and credibility, we give a final score together. If our individual scores are within a point of each other, we average it. If we're more than a point apart, we debate it until one of us moves. The last 2 categories, the Ray factor and the Steve factor, are sealed right in these bags over here. We've scored each book on the it factor before we walked into this room, and those sealed scores get opened live later in the show.
Then we add it all up, slap a verdict on it, and put it on the shelf. Today's book is the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, written by Eric Jorgenson.
Over the last 2 weeks reading this book, we individually recorded phone videos as we filled out the rating worksheet. I haven't seen any of Ray's videos or his scores, and he hasn't seen any of mine. We'll be watching those live today on the show with you. Now, before we cracked the book open, we judged the book by its cover and made predictions for how the book would score on the shelf test. So why did I choose the Almanack of Naval Ravikant for our first book here on the shelf test? He's been on podcasts. He's a writer. He's on Twitter. You can find people everywhere who've been impacted by Naval Ravikant. I am curious now to find out what your pre-read mindset was for this book. So let's go to your clip.
Well, let's watch the footage.
And your pre-read score. Let's watch the footage.
It says a couple things on the cover: how to get rich without getting lucky, a guide to wealth and happiness. So this dude has a cool name, first off. It's just going to be a book about, you know, some rich guy and how he got rich or whatever. So it's going to be one of those kind of books.
I've actually owned this book for quite some time, and I just had never cracked it open before. I got it, and it's kind of plain looking, you know? It didn't have a lot going on, and I didn't really know a lot about who Naval Ravikant was. But now I've seen podcasts of his, I've seen a lot of Twitter posts from him, I've gotten a lot of value from him without even knowing who he was. I have a lot to learn from Naval, and I can't wait to dig into this one. First impressions, this is going to be a good read.
My pre-read score prediction, a 30 out of 50.
So you did not have very high expectations for this book.
I literally thought it was going to be a cookie cutter kind of, you know, how to get rich. This is another guy at the finish line.
My prediction for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant is that it's going to score on the shelf test a 37 out of 50. If they had a nicer cover, maybe I would have thought more of it. But I feel good about my pre-prediction.
I like the title, like you said, the cover, right? Anything with almanac, I'm like, almanac, that's going to be very informative.
Yeah.
Right. And again, like I said, he had a cool name, right? So
I also don't think I've ever seen almanac with a K on that.
Yeah, that was another thing. Honestly,
right?
Like it's kind of eye catching. Like, oh, this
I had the Almanac Britannica.
This is different.
Up, okay. And I'm like, did they misspell almanac?
Yeah. I told someone I was reading it. They were like, "You're reading the Farmer's Almanac." I was like, "That's not what I said."
Basically, that's what it looks like on here, though. You know, and I like the back part where they say, "Look, getting rich is not just about luck." And Naval deep dives on luck. I love his take on luck, by the way. Happiness is not just a trait we are born with. Those were first impressions. Now let's jump into the shelf test scores for each category. First up, the readability score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant.
Readability is how easy this book is to actually get through. We scored on 3 tests: the pickup test, the structure test, and the talk to a stranger test.
Let's run the tests.
The pickup test is the part of the review where we rate how easy or how hard it is to put the book down for a week and then pick up right where you left off.
If you put this book down for a week, could you re-enter it easily?
Yes.
Why?
You can basically just dive into any portion of it and kind of take something from it. It's just a series of tweets and stuff.
Yeah.
So because this is him just dropping like knowledge and,
little nuggets of wisdom like throughout the book. So basically, it's very, you can just pick it up and just start anywhere.
Well, it makes this book different from any other book. The fact that it's got 100 ideas inside of it.
Yeah.
And so I felt much the same way because it's a collaboration of thoughts. It's not just a couple of thoughts he's trying to give you. So it is something you can just drop for a week and go pick it up and pick up right where you left off. It's very easy to do. And you might just be on a whole new topic and think, okay, like I have all the context because I'm reading an essay that was just there. But again, that essay might last for 2 pages.
Yeah.
And that's it. So from the pickup test, I'd say overall, I actually rated it pretty high.
Yeah, me too.
On the pickup test because of that. And I think a lot of other books will rate much lower on the pickup test because there would be much deeper arguments. Let's move on to the structure test.
The structure test is the part of the review where we rate the book's organization and flow. Does the order make sense? And is it easy to follow?
What do you think about the organization of the book? Did it help you? Did it hurt the reading experience?
It's not a linear story, right? So you can just go to any section and just listen to it or read it, and you're going to take something from it.
You never have to backtrack.
Yeah, you don't.
At all.
At all, no.
Like, oh, I missed a part. I thought it was organized well. If you look at the table of contents, the way that they have it structured, it almost reads table of contents wise like it's going to be a book that deep dives on these subjects.
Yeah.
Only when you get into it do you realize, no, there's a subsection for 50 different thoughts inside of each one of these chapters. So when I started reading it, I was waiting to see like the end of the first chapter. I'm looking for a stopping point. It just kept going on and on and on. But I'm like, wait a minute, the thought has changed from here. There's all these different topics I'm digging into. And that was because of the structure of the book. And that's when I actually realized that this is essays and tweets and essays about the tweets, which are cool. But even though I knew that going in, I thought the book would still be formatted in like the way a book normally reads. And it definitely is not that. But it's also very readable at the same time. It's a very easy read. It's a quick read. It's 8 hours. You can read this book in 2 weeks. No problem. We just did it. Moving on to the Talk to a Stranger test.
The Talk to a Stranger test is the part of the review where we test how hard it is to pitch this book in 30 seconds. If they wouldn't want to read it after the 30-second pitch, then this test fails. Let's watch our 30-second pitches and score them.
Would you want to read the book based off these pitches if you'd never read the book before? We'll start with mine and then we'll go to yours. The Almanack of Naval Ravikant wasn't written by Naval. It was written by Eric Jorgenson, but it's a collaboration of Naval's podcast, his essays, his tweets, and all of the thoughts that come from a guy who started a big company like AngelList that's well known in Silicon Valley. You learn about business, you're going to learn about philosophy, things like happiness and where it comes from, and most importantly, a lot of concepts about understanding what makes you special and how you should be spending your time and your efforts. Would you read the book based off of that 30-second pitch?
It's like reading Rambo, dude. Yeah.
Would you really?
You packed a lot in there. You'll see mine. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
I was really impressed that you stayed 29 seconds. I was like, damn, that was good.
I was talking quick.
Yeah.
I was fire spitting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I am a great salesman, but let's see what you had to say, and I'm going to see if I would be compelled by this pitch.
What's up, man? I got this book for you. It's called The Almanack of Naval Ravikant. Naval is he's an Indian guy, right? From New Delhi or whatever. But basically, he started out poor, and then he talks about what he did to become the billionaire that he is right now. It's just a compilation of his best ideas on how to get rich and actually enjoy your life. I figured, you like stuff like this, and I really think it would help you improve your life, or at least give you some ideas to pull out of it to improve your life. So let me know what you think.
Would I read the book based off of that video if it was free? Oh, and by the way, the book actually is free.
It's free? Okay.
And anyone can go and get this book at navalmanac.com.
Did you like how it looked like I was talking to a stranger?
I did. And I also thought, I said in future iterations of this show, we should just go to a park and ask them if they would let us pitch them on a book for 30 seconds and ask them if they would read the book based off of that.
It'll give me a reason to approach like chicks.
That's one way to do it. As a happily married man, I'll stay away from the chicks, and I'll be approaching strangers that are men.
I'll be at the bar, dude, pitching these fucking books.
I would love for you in a future episode to do your pitch at the bar.
I could definitely do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Something to look forward to on future episodes. Time to rate the readability score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant.
Readability for me, I would say I gave it a pretty high, an 8.
I'm giving Readability a score of 7 out of 10. So in that instance, we're going to split the difference. All right, the final Readability score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant is a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, the Impactfulness score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. Impactfulness is whether this book actually changes the way you live, work, or think. 2 tests, the What Did I Steal test and the Half-Life test.
Let's run the tests.
The What Did I Steal test is the part of the review where we rate ideas we stole from the author and shared with others mid-read.
He talks about this idea of the hedonic treadmill. It's just you getting used to everything, and your brain keeps moving the finish line on what is good enough. So I've definitely felt that before, hitting a new income level or buying something nice, and then a week later, I feel like it's just all normal again. So lately, I've been trying to actually step off that hedonic treadmill a bit instead of obsessing about, more income or upgrading whatever. I'm just learning to like and love the setup I already have, as in, I got a roof over my head. I live in Vegas. I'm single. I have a lot of freedom to do whatever I want.
I love that because you're equating the happiness to contentment, which was a big thought that Naval had in this book of like, can I just be content with the stuff I already have and everything else can be icing on the cake if and when that happens. But I'm already happy now. I live so much of my life looking 6 months out into the future of when I'm going to be happy, when I finally get this. And even when I was a kid, when high school is finally done, when I'm finally done with college, when I'm finally out of the army, then I get to go have a normal life. And there's always something else you're looking forward to. You're never living in the present. And the present, Naval talks about, the present is contentment. The present is happiness. If you can just be here, like, man, roof over my head, food, I have people that love me, people that I care about. Yeah.
But what I like too, it's because you say that, right? And it's like, oh, but he says it's a skill, being happy, right? So it's something you have to practice, and it's something that, you're not just going to snap your finger and all of a sudden one day be like, okay, I'm going to be content with everything.
Yeah.
But there was one thing I wanted to tell you, too. It's like, because I was practicing this, right? And I didn't know this was a feature on Navy Fed, but you could see how many times you swiped your card, right? So for that, my money, right? I was like, I'm spending too much money. I'm always buying shit. I need to just be happy. It was funny because I saw the months preceding me reading this book. It was in the hundreds, 150, 160, whatever times I swiped. And the month I read this or whatever, it was 40.
Really?
In May, I swiped my card 40 times. That was it.
This book's already saving you money. It's already saving you money.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting though, when you think about fuck the lifestyle, who are you buying stuff for? How does stuff even make you happy? When you understand the hedonic treadmill of I'm gonna get that thing, and then a couple days later, I'm not gonna like it anymore.
Yeah.
I see it with my kids all the time. The newest toy is the one that they love. And then another new toy comes out and they're ungrateful about the ones that they have because their sister has a newer toy than they do, or a different game on the iPad than they do. And it's not fair. It's like, you were crying 2 days ago for the toy that you have now.
You just now you don't care get off the hedonic treadmill.
Get off the hedonic treadmill, kid. Okay, I'm gonna start using that. Get off the treadmill.
His idea on relationships, right? I really enjoyed that part of the book so far. And basically, he talks about compound interest, right? And typically, you relate that to money, right? And finances, which obviously, that is a form of it. But he also relates that to other aspects of life. And one that kind of, resonated with me was his compounding interest with relationships. But he also talks about knowledge and stuff. But basically, relationships. He has a quote in there. He talks about playing long-term games with long-term people. So for me, that means being a little bit more or way more intentional about who I keep around, especially at my age, 40, right? I'm looking to optimize my relationships with high integrity, low drama type people, and then just people I can see that are still going to be in my life 10 to 20 years from now. And whether that's dating, friends, business, or whatever, he talks about one way to filter that out is to ask yourself, would I actually want to keep playing this game with this person for a long time? And then if the answer is no, then I'm done treating it like a long-term situation. And I really like that. So yeah, that's another thing that I am stealing from Naval.
I'll tell you, I actually missed him talking about relationships. I don't remember reading that portion of it on compound interest, but I love it. The one part I do remember him saying is that, you marry someone for 30 or 40 years, but you don't spend that much time figuring out whether or not they're a person you want to be married to.
Yeah.
Like those relationships, matter, dude, we only get 80 years on this earth.
Yeah.
We're basically half over with our lives at this point. Who we spend our time with, that matters. Yeah. And I like the idea of the compound interest in the relationship. I used to tell people the benefit of a long-term relationship with a girl, with my wife now, the benefit of it is continuity. I don't have to explain myself when I say things because she already knows. Like she lived half of it, but she also heard all my stories, knows about my childhood. That's compound interest. She's like, hey, what's going on with this? And I just tell her and she understands all the context behind it, all the ins and outs of the different relationships with me and my family. That's compound interest that plays out in a relationship. When I was younger and I would get in relationships for 1.5 or 2 years and I'd go on to the next one, on to the next one. The part that I always hated, I kept telling the same stories over and over again. You get 2 years in, you get tired of the girl, she starts being herself, you start being yourself, and the whole thing falls apart. And you're just kind of like, man, like I'm tired of telling people about my mom and my dad and the dynamic growing up and the things that I want to pursue in life and starting over from that stuff. I want to just do that with one person that I can invest in for a long period of time. So I feel that. You talk about relationships there. Is that the direction you were going in?
Yeah,
when you made
definitely. I look at our relationship, you know what I mean? Like 7 years ago, we worked together, you know what I'm saying? And then like, basically that compounded to today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can see that with a lot of relationships, but ours in particular, I was like, cause you have opened up a lot of opportunities for me and things like that. And it's like, damn, this is all like me just keeping that relationship with Steve going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's like something that I like. One of my friends told me about. It's like, it's basically like you have a jug of water, right, or a pitcher of water, and it's finite as much how much water you have in there, right? And everyone's got a cup, so you have to decide whose cups do you want to fill, because you can't fill them all or whatever, or you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of in line with all this, whatever. But yeah, definitely. Because there's some people too. It's like, not being, because I don't know how to like not being so harsh on people, whatever. Like you're not fucking bringing shit to the table for me. You know what I mean? So I'm going to cut you off or whatever. But there are people that are like energy vampires and like just naysayers and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, you keep them around. But it's like, why? You know what I mean? And I have cut off a lot of those kind of people, and basically, I think
Naval would encourage you to cut those people off too. It's like, look, you got 40 years left. I have 40 years left. Who do I want to spend that time with?
Exactly.
Like someone's going to steal that time away from me? No, thanks.
And it really hits hard too at the age kind of we're at, late 30s, early 40s or whatever. And you kind of realize in your 20s, I might have wasted a lot of my time with, I'm not going to do that again though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wasted a lot of my time and effort with short-term people.
Yeah, exactly.
Really short-term people. When you get back with a friend, you get together, just like we have after 7-8 years of being apart, and you can pick up right where you left off. Yeah. That's compound interest. And that's why I think separates people's high school friends from the friends that they have either in their first job or the friends that they have in college, because you're basically cohabitating with those people for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And it's the first time in your life after high school, you are picking people that you want to hang out with. You're picking your friends. Yeah. In high school, you have a group of, depends how big your high school is, but from 15 people to 1,000 people, that's who you can choose from. And then you choose where you go to college, you choose where your first job is, and you choose who you spend your time with, both at work and when you're outside of work for the first time. Those are the friends that last a long time, I think, because that's where you start to understand, I'm investing so much of my time into this. There's a compound interest impact on the time that we put into those relationships. And I love the ability to pick up with someone right where I left off. And it's one of the tests that I think I understand now. If you want to do long-term things with long-term people that Naval talks about in this book, one of the tests to know if you're with a long-term person is, can you pick up right where you left off with them? If it's been a couple of years since you've seen them. If you can, that's a long-term person. If you can't, short-term. Yeah. Bye. See ya. I'm 40. I gotta move on. Our goal is to get paid for our judgment, not to get paid for our time. We all have these things that we know that nobody else knows, and Naval calls that specific knowledge. But to get paid for your judgment, that means that People know you're so good at the thing and you've got a track record doing it that they don't care how much effort you put into it. They just want the result. Another thing I've been talking to people nonstop about the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, is this whole idea of do long-term things with long-term people. That if somebody's short-term, if somebody's not somebody you want to build with for 30 years, Naval says don't even spend a day building with them. What happens when you go long-term is you get the benefit of compound interest. And Naval hits that over and over again. That compound interest in time is where all of the benefits in life come from. And I have reiterated that to people nonstop since reading this book. The specific knowledge, that was one of the first things that I read when I was like, Ray, like you got to hear about like specific knowledge and this understanding. And for some things that I'm going through personally right now, like I built a business 7 years ago, merged with another business, and I did a really good job of delegating and handing off my responsibilities to other people. I hired 25 people to do the work that I used to do by myself. Of course, it's much larger now than it was when I was doing it, but those people are having an impact on the business. And I look at that and say, that's my impact. Every single one of them that I hired, that I trained. And I had partners who were looking at my impact today and saying, hey, you're not down here in the ditch with us working on this. Your people are, but you're not here. Should you get the same economics that the rest of us get in salary and benefits if you're not here toiling today? And I actually use this book to make the argument to them that, hey, all those people working, that's my impact. Yeah. That's my specific knowledge. And when I get on a 1-hour call once a month to consult my own company, because I built it all from scratch, I know what pipes to bang on because I built all of it. I have specific knowledge in that thing. And my specific knowledge and my judgment of knowing how to build that business, that is worth more to them than me being there toiling in the dirt every day. And for anyone who has a business out there, you already know that the whole goal is to be above the business, because if you're working inside the business, you don't really see how to grow. You don't really understand. Like you're so in the mire of all the problems that are there today that you step out of the business, take a week off, and you have all these big ideas about how to grow because all of a sudden you're not inundated with the day-to-day and the problems. Yeah. And so for me and my business partners, like we went through it to try to figure that piece out. But on the back end of the conclusion was, hey, this specific knowledge, that's a real thing. Like the work that we put in to do it and what we now know how to do, that's what makes it special. And I love how Naval talks about this idea that all of us should be looking to get paid for our judgment, not for what we know how to do, not for doing the thing, but knowing. He uses Warren Buffett as an example. He says, nobody cares how much effort Warren Buffett puts in. Nobody cares what time Warren Buffett gets up and goes to work, comes to the office, when he goes home. Of course, now we know he's retired, but nobody cares about that. Why? Because he has judgment and a track record of giving people outsized returns to the market. So nobody cares where Warren's at. He gets paid for his judgment. All of us should strive to be in a position where we're paid because we know how to do something and we have a track record. Achieve that, you have employment freedom because people will pay you for what you know how to do, whether or not you're the one actually doing it. Yeah. And that's something that was lost on me, but it's real because I'm going through it right now. Yeah. I think too, though, like for a lot of people, like, not just the regular W-2 person with just normal bills and, struggling to survive. Sometimes it's hard for them to, for me, to understand what is my specific knowledge, you know what I mean? And basically you're probably doing it every day without even knowing, because like I was looking at kind of like, the stuff you're helping me out with, right? But basically like I never really considered, recruiting and, but then it was like, I know the tech side. I also know the military side. And typically one person knows the tech side. That's like the hiring manager, and the military side would be the candidate or whatever. I know how to bridge that, you know? So, I may or may not be trying to make that in something right now, but that's why you hang out with me, because I will motivate you in that direction. No, for sure. But it was basically just something I'm doing every day, but I never really thought of it like that. And and he's, Naval says that like everyone has something specific that, but you just got to like think about it really. Before we jump to the half-life test and award an impactfulness score, we pause here to reflect on our favorite passages from the book. If you hurt other people because they have expectations of you, that's their problem. If they have an agreement with you, it's your problem. But if they have an expectation of you, that's completely their problem. It has nothing to do with you. They're going to have lots of expectations out of life. The sooner you can dash their expectations, the better. The sooner you can dash their expectations, the better. A lot of people would say that that makes Naval an asshole, or it makes you an asshole if you say that, oh, you have expectations of me? Well, that's your problem. Does that make someone an asshole?
No, I can see why, but if you break it down, it's like, it is what, like, you have your perspective role, I have mine. And if I'm somehow, that is not my problem. You know what I mean? Like, and you can think it's like cold-hearted or whatever, but it's a good way to just, you don't have to say it out loud.
Let's see Ray's favorite passage.
Desire is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want.
When I heard that, I was like, that is so true.
People ask the question, why am I not happy? It's like, because you made a contract with yourself to not be happy until something happens.
Let's move on to the half-life test.
The half-life test is the part of the review where we rate how memorable the lessons from the book will be 5 years from now. If the memories evaporate the second we close the book, the test fails. I'm going to remember specific knowledge. I'm going to remember I want to get paid for my judgment. I'm going to remember long-term things with long-term people.
Happiness being a skill that you have to work on.
Yeah.
Happiness is not a prize you unlock when you have money. Not being stuck in the permanent not enough mode. These are all just things that, like, I have been kind of just taking in and kind of just applying to my life. And I'm hoping I'm still doing it in 5 years. Let's rate an impactfulness score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant.
I'm giving impactfulness a score of 9 out of 10.
For me, I'm just going to give it a 7.
Okay. Why is 7? You get that a lot lower than I did.
Well, because basically it's like there are things I took, but if I'm looking at the majority of the book, right, there's just things that I really, really liked. But if I'm looking at it and I'm being critical as far as, like, especially for other books down the line and stuff like that, where the entire book, is like something, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say this entire book was like something that was just it was mainly the happiness part, which we need to edit this. It was basically, I'm saying a 7 out of 10 because it wasn't the entire book. It was just little snippets, but they were very powerful ones that really resonated with me.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot in there. I gave it the 9 out of 10 because there was so much that was impactful to me. But again, to my earlier point about not like deep diving on a lot of it, there were a lot of quotes. You give me a book of 100 quotes anywhere, I'm going to say it's pretty impactful. So I'm a deep thinker. I'm like, whoa. Like I'm getting lit left and right with these things that have impacted me. But I like your take on it. I'll bring my score down. I would be down to meet in the middle, closer to you.
Impactfulness score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, 7.5 out of 10. Next up, the credibility score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. Credibility is whether the author has actually earned the right to teach this. 2 tests, the survivorship bias test and the skin of the game test.
The survivorship bias test is the part of the review where we put the author in the hot seat. Are they generalizing from their own outlier success? And would this advice still hold up if 1,000 other people tried it? Naval has obviously been super successful. He's been out of the rat race for a long time. He grew up extremely poor in India. He knows what it's like to do without. Now he has plenty. If you apply his first advice of living well below your means where employment is optional, you can then take the second advice, which is only work on things that you care about and don't waste your time, and then let long-term compound interest. So I'm going to give him a very high score for the survivorship because he has lived every element of this. And now he's giving advice back of what he would do over again, not just about money, but also about his happiness.
I feel like I was a little more critical, but
yeah. Well, I think it's important to point out that I'm assuming that people have decided to live well under their means, and then all of his advice. If you're living well under your means, you're at the same point Naval is at, because you can be wealthy without having a lot of money. Wealth is like, how high are your expenses? What do you need to live? Okay, do you have that? Do you have excess from that? Okay, you're a wealthy person as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And now you can choose whether you're employed or not, whether you have this freedom, what you want to do with your time. So all the rest of what he talks about of building the knowledge and having specific knowledge and building judgment and learning to be happy, that tends to wait until you have some freedom to be able to do those things, which requires you to have your expenses low. So I'm kind of predicating a lot on something that most people do not have a good handle on. I don't care how much money you have. Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Do you have 12 months of expenses saved up of your current expenses in the bank right now? If you don't, you're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
There's some things that could happen to you that would put you in a really bad situation. That brings stress, and it keeps us on the hamster wheel, working for somebody else to make that happen. So that's 90% of people that I'm saying, once you solve that, this book becomes very easy to implement, you know? So it's a lot. But I was too easy on him, you think?
No, I was saying I was a little more critical, but
okay, let's see it. Let's see it.
Naval, the writer of this book, right, is somebody that has already kind of crossed the finish line. The dude's a founder, investor, he's a billionaire, right? And so basically he's putting out principles there that are powerful, right? But sometimes they might just take into account, you got to be lucky, you got to have good timing, you got to have a good network, something like that. But if you feel that if you follow this playbook to a T and you're just going to make it happen or whatever, that's probably not going to happen, right? Because for every Naval, I want to say there's probably thousands upon thousands of people who did similar things that he did, right? But just didn't get the big break that he might have got.
Let's move on to the skin of the game test.
In the skin of the game test, we rate, has the author actually bled for this material, or are they writing from the sidelines? Let's see how Naval holds up.
Do you feel like because Naval was a poor kid from India and he happened to make it, that he bled enough for the material, or are there elements where he's reporting from the sidelines?
No, definitely his story. I think he has bled enough.
Yeah.
But I did want to dig into that. I was like, what was his big break? What was it? Whatever. But just looking at it from that, yeah, like him, a poor kid in India, right?
Yeah.
And then just making it, to those schools he made it into and working his way, you know what I mean? Like,
and that was his big break. He even says it in the book, like getting into the Stuyvesant, whatever that was in New York City, that got him into an Ivy League school, probably on a scholarship, it sounded like, and he was able to go get a top tier education. And that fucking matters. Like where you get educated, who your network is, who was he at school with in the Ivy League that helped him get where he is today. Because you hear a lot of rich people, when you sit down and talk with them, they talk about where they went to college and the network that they built in college that they still have an alumni network with today. It's a rising tide that lifts all boats. So his education, we really can't discount that. And most people are never going to have an Ivy League education. I don't. You don't. So are we fighting the same battle that he fought? Even though he started off probably poorer than us, he did get that leg up. And that might have been a lottery pick for him to go to that school.
Yeah, exactly.
And what would his life look like today if he hadn't had that?
And that's what I bring up. It's like for every Naval, right? There was the 1,000 kids that were probably just as smart or smarter or whatever that didn't get that lottery pick. You know what I mean? So, but that's not taking anything away from him because he played his cards right, and you know what I mean. Like he took full advantage because there's probably a bunch of kids that went to those schools that didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so as far as him bleeding and kind of living it, I definitely think that yes, skin in the game. I would rank that very high.
Let's see if we can come to an agreement on the credibility score. I'm giving credibility a score of 9 out of 10.
I'm going to give it similar. I was going to say a 9 out of 10 as well.
He really has. He's lived it. The dude has earned that one. Credibility score for the Almanack of Naval Ravikant is a 9 out of 10.
Now that readability, impactfulness, and credibility are all locked up, it's time for the it factors.
Category 4 is the Ray factor. This is Ray's wild card. 10 points, entirely his call. He scored it after reading the full book and before he walked into the room. The score is right here, and it's sealed. Ray, before we reveal your score, tell me what you took into account for the Ray factor.
It's one of those books that basically once you hit a stride and like a good part you like, it's really hard to like stop or whatever. So I audibled it for the most part.
Okay.
And I think it's only like an 8-hour audible, which is kind of a smaller book, but I got through it in like a couple days. So basically what I was thinking about, if I'm going to score it, we're going to be reading some pretty heavy hitting kind of books or whatever, like meditations and stuff like that. The Obstacle's Way. I like that one. So basically it's like, how would it compare to all these that we're going to be reading? If I give this a 10, right? And then all of a sudden we read Meditations. It's like, oh, this is on the same level as Marcus Aurelius. You know what I mean? So there's that part of it.
But the building wealth portion to you.
Well,
you kinda
I
breeze
guess
past
like
that.
because it's like stuff like you don't get rich renting out your time, and it's just. I just feel like you hear this a lot, and it's just like, yeah, of course, trading your hours for dollars, stuff like that, and he's talking about building assets. And I guess basically, like, because you brought that up, like, if you're broke, right, it's like, cool, man, build assets. And I'm just sitting here trying to pay my rent. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are you talking about? But, as far as the happiness part, because there was one part, it's like, being broke and at peace is still better than being broke and miserable. So kind of like when you talk about the jumping off the hedonic treadmill and everything. And I think you should explain the hedonic treadmill, because that concept too, it's something that when you put it into words, right? It's kind of like, oh shit, like I do that.
Hedonic means related to pleasure, enjoyment, comfort, or pain avoidance. In Naval's words, when he talks about hedonic things, he's usually talking about the human tendency to chase pleasure, status, novelty, stimulation, comfort, or gratification. Like buying a new car made me happy for a week, and then it became normal. And that's hedonic adaptation.
It becoming normal.
I'm telling you, man, before I had any money, I didn't really understand that concept.
Yeah.
But I always aspired for these things that I wanted. I wanted a really nice car, and I wanted a really big house. I wanted to have a freaking mansion, dude. And this moment that I made it financially, I bought a Range Rover and I bought a mansion.
Okay.
I don't have either of those two things anymore because I started to learn firsthand what hedonic adaptation was all about.
Yeah.
The first day I had that Range Rover, I remember I walked my daughter to the park. We got stuck. My wife had to come pick us up, and she pulled up in the Rover. Dude, I thought to myself, look at my wife driving in that car. Like, what? Look, is anyone seeing this? Is anybody seeing this? Like, how cool is that? It felt so good to be in that car. And I promise you, a month later, I told her that hunk of junk out, and I changed my whole perception. It turned into a hunk of junk instead of it being the car that I yearned for, that I longed for. I couldn't wait because it was just another car at that point. I was chasing status, chasing something nice. But by the time I got it, and that's the hedonic treadmill, the hedonic adaptation. Once I got it, it was just a normal car. Could have been a Honda Accord. Yeah. Could have been a car.
Some of the stuff too, like it's sort of factored in there too. Can this apply to most people, right? And some of it can, I feel, a lot of it can, some of it, I'm thinking whatever, it might be a little cookie cutter or fluff or whatever. But, I was looking at that. Can just the average person, rich, poor, whatever, read this book and, get something out of it, really, as long as you get something out of it, will you get something out of it? Whether it be the happiness, the wealth, or whatever. So really, generally that's kind of what I was looking at for my, my Ray factor score.
Okay, let's see how you scored it based off of that. The Ray factor on the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, 7.0 out of 10.
Category 5 is the Steve factor. Same rules, 10 points, all Steve's call. Defend your score for the Steve factor before we reveal it.
I thought this book had some life-changing topics in it for me, and we came at it from different perspectives. But I also thought that the book was pretty light on some of the specific topics that I would have wanted to see a deep dive. Now, I want to give the caveat to this. This is just a collaboration of podcasts, and it's not written by Naval. Someone else brought it all together for him. And he even says in the book that he likes to skim books. And if you don't like what you're reading, skim through it. So he's giving us the opportunity to say, you don't have to like every single section of this, move on to the next one, but come back to the sections that you do like. And for that reason, I thought that his two sections, Building Wealth and Learning Happiness, were awesome. It was 60 pages of Building Wealth. It was 20 pages of Learning Happiness. Two things that were very applicable to me where I'm at in my journey right now, where I'm trying to figure out wealth and the specific knowledge he talks about, where it's what do I know how to do that no one else knows? Like, who can be Steve but Steve?
Yeah.
And how do I apply that in what I do forward? And this whole idea of long-term things with long-term people when it comes to building wealth. Like, don't go build wealth for a year or two with someone. Like, pick people that you would build with for 10 years or for 30 years. And if they don't meet that criteria, then don't even build with them for a day. Like, why would you do that? So pick people you want to work with that you like working with, and then work in an industry that has a long-term trajectory and then get compound interest, not just on your money, but on the efforts you put in and day out, because we're all learning and failing. And that's the compound interest that gets us to build anything, whether it's growing a podcast, whether it's building a business, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to fail at it for a really long time in order to get good. So I love building wealth. I love learning happiness. I did not like building judgment. That whole section to me, I thought it was cookie cutter. I thought it was kind of basically what he's saying is read books in that section. That's how you build judgment, right? Read books. He says, read these books, read those books. I'm like, okay, so read books. Thank you. I don't need you to spend 40 pages telling me that. That could have been 1 page from there. And so I'm being critical intentionally of that because I thought I'm never going to read that section ever again. The saving yourself section, talking about meditation, talking about eating right. Naval is no picture of physical fitness. If you look at him, the guy's got a pot belly. Nothing wrong with having a pot belly, but should you have sections in your book talking about your diet and your meditation and your workouts when you're not in great physical shape? And I thought that was taking away a bit of his credibility because he's not living a lifestyle that looks like he should be talking about eating food. I don't think you should be putting stuff in your book about eating food if you're not in good shape. That's just me, and this is the Steve factor. The philosophy section I thought was so-so. That's fine. But I would have loved a deeper dive on the parts that are actionable. He's built a huge business. Tell me more about building wealth. How do I do that? What are the actionable steps? He gave some, and I know he wants it to be something that can live forever, but give me more of that. Cut out these other sections and give me more about building wealth. Give me more about learning happiness. I do think that he changed my whole idea when it comes to happiness, of what happiness is. We've discussed that, where happiness is basically contentment. Like, be content with what you have. Choose to be happy. And then you're going to have that happiness, and you can decide to pick one thing that you want to work on that is your contract to say, I'm going to be unhappy until I achieve this, and I'm going to have happiness overall. I will say a caveat. This is an almanac. Almanac meaning it hits a lot of different topics. But I personally, even though I would keep it on the shelf, I would read very few sections over and over again. And so that's what I factored into the Steve factor for my score.
Time to reveal the score. The Steve factor on the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, 6.5 out of 10.
Let's add up the scores to get a final shelf test score.
Readability, 7.5.
Impactfulness, 7.5.
Credibility, 9.
The Ray factor, 7.
The Steve factor, 6.5.
The Almanack of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgenson final shelf test score is a 37.5 out of 50. That puts it in the strong tier. Next time on the shelf test, we're reading The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. If you want to read along with us, the reading club is open at theshelftest.com. Sign up, get the next book, and bring your own score when we drop the episode.
That was the shelf test review of the Almanack of Naval Ravikant.
We'll see you on the next one.